Artifacts of the Avant-Garde, the collections of Swatch watches designed between 1995 and 1997. At the time, I was the creative director at Swatch in New York and in Milan, and I designed over 40 watches for the brand, including really interesting artist collaborations. I worked very closely with David Bowie on a special line of watches that were very bespoke. I met him and he was interested in taking one of my watches and making it special for him. And I also worked with Gabriel on a special edition that came out at the time and collaborated with other artists such as Anna Leibovitz, Jun Paik, and the legendary designer Alessandro Mendini. This collection of watches is really interesting design-wise, as for the first time I was able to introduce art strategies into the design of the watches. This really became about having ideas and building themes and making statements that go beyond decoration. For example, one series we had was called Commercials, and it was sort of the first attempt in trying to bring the sort of substance-like consumer culture to the fore. It was written on them 100% plastic or fat-free and things like that. One early watch I created, this watch that can light up and it says this is not a lamp. It came with a sticker that says this is not a lamp on it. You peel it off and when you press the button it lights up and says this is not a lamp. So it's a very coveted collector's item. Interestingly also, this whole idea about consumer culture reflected in a watch I designed called Devotion, which is really about TV addiction and so forth and so on. The pushing of graphics things in the mid-90s. For the first time we used sort of very early dimensional rendering software to create these highly architectural series of watches, which have these very close-ups of micro structures on them. Really for the first time pushing technology like this, which was really very hard to get to in the 90s. And finally, sort of this idea of changing form and shape through the design and the surfaces and making this sort of a lifestyle object of desire was done here for the first time by changing the dial and changing the graphic combinations and proportions of the dial through layering and using mirror to create other dimensions or blocking things off. Find out more if you're interested about these watches. They're pretty hard to get to these days and you can still find them. And from what I know, people really get interested in them more and more as time moves on. If you're interested more in this kind of content, please go to Vertigo, my YouTube channel, where I think about all things design, including design philosophy, branding. Hope to see you there. Thanks.